Hello, hello, hello. Um, Maybe in this episode you might hear, um, sounds like this. Sounds like my window is open because I forgot to turn off my heating. So here I am, so warm in my room. I feel like a little bit of a journalist right now. Like, look at my outfit. It's kind of like it's giving media studies student, which I happen to be. Um, I'm super excited for today's episode. I'm super excited to talk. I was not gonna lie, a little bit hungover this morning, and which was very weird because I had 3 glasses of wine last night. But maybe it was because it was cheap wine. I don't really want to know. I just knew I felt like shit this morning. But my school's cafeteria has the most delicious, decadent meals available. It opens at 10 a.m. and I was in that bitch as soon as it opened. I had my little banana milk and I had like this like bean and chickpea chili with potatoes. It was so delicious. It was exactly what I needed to get me through the day. And now I'm here and I'm thriving. I don't feel sick at all. So that definitely helped my body get up to its usual standards. Um I promised you that I was going to tell you something new I tried this week, and I did. I made sure to do it. I tried a pie, like an English type of pie. I went to an Irish pub. I love Irish things, so I went to an Irish pub and I got a spinach and feta pie. Honestly, it was delicious. My boyfriend didn't like it, but I had a lot of fun with my pie. It was so good. It was like, I love spinach, I love feta, and I love like the crispy but also soft pie crust. Just delicious. And I also, for dessert, had a Bailey's cheesecake. You guys, like that. Those are my two favorite things: Bailey's and cheesecake, and they merged it into one. Safe to say, my poor little lactose intolerant stomach was not really excited about the idea, but I was. So I don't care what the stomach thinks. She can say whatever she wants to say. I was having so much fun. And also the vibes there were amazing. So Irish pubs, I definitely recommend. I worked my first shift last week Friday. It was really great. It was really great. I did overtime for 2 hours, so I ended up leaving my job at 1 a.m. So fun, guys. That's so great. Okay, let's be honest here. I really liked working. I like working. I'm sorry to say I'm not going to complain too much because while I did overtime and while I was really, really tired at the end of the shift, like tired, my body was at 0%. I really learned so much about catering. I learned so much about the company, and I met a lot of people, a lot of fun people. And honestly, the whole experience was pretty good. Like, I'm not about to be angry, and I'm having a shift with them twice this week. I'm working 22 hours this week in 3 days. That's incredible. And I made that decision myself. Wow, amazing. And then I realized how much work I had, and I quickly regretted that decision. But I can't back out now. They depend on me. I can't just be like, sorry, I have work for school, and they'll be like, well, you should have been more prepared. But anyways, money is money. Am I really being mad at myself right now? Not really. I'm not really regretting it too much. I watched the David Bowie documentary. Really, really interesting take on a documentary. Usually when you think of documentaries, you'd be like, well, he did this, he did that, he was born then and there, and he died then and there. But this one was like, I barely even got any information, kind of like factual information about his life. It was really centered towards his philosophical ideas and the way he was thinking. And it was so interesting. Like, he was so fascinating as a human being, the way he thought, the way he formulated his ideas, the way he lived his life, all the different phases of his life, and how he changed his perspectives over time. It was beautiful. And the cinematography, mwah. However, I do wish there was more like typical directorial things or like documentorial things, because I don't know much about David Bowie, I would say. Like, I don't think I know the entire like sequences of his life in detail, so it would have been nice to kind of mush those together. But I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. I definitely enjoyed it, and I definitely think it's worth watching. So if you want to watch Moonage Daydream, go to your local theater. I think it's out pretty much worldwide. I don't know, but definitely check it out or pirate it. Don't take it from me. I never said that, but you might not. You should never pirate things, guys. But maybe, just maybe. Okay. This episode is very relevant at the minute. It's definitely something that I've been struggling with lately, and it's super annoying. It's not a fun time. I'm not having a great moment in my life right now because of this. But I thought this is great in a way, because at least I can use it for a podcast episode, and I know I'm not alone. Like, come on, homesickness. You know how many millions of people struggle with homesickness? So I was like, you know what? At least I can suffer with somebody, and you are that target today. I am starting to feel really homesick, and it's been a month since I moved in, and I think what stopped me from being homesick before was the 2 weeks of me moving in and getting to know everything. It was so much like stress and new stuff all at once, so you kind of forget about things because you're trying to find your place here and understand how things work. But now that I've kind of, gotten used to it a little bit, I think I have more time to think, and to kind of miss my home, especially because we're nearing some type of holiday season, Halloween, it's almost Christmas, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, you start to miss your parents, you start to miss your friends, you start to miss your significant others if you have those at home, and it's really starting to take a toll, especially if you're a type of person that has a lot of anxious attachment things, which I happen to have a little bit. I wouldn't say it's a lot, but it definitely exists in my mind. I think one of the most interesting things is how much I miss my parents. I call my mom every day because I love my mom, and I remember I was really homesick, so I called my mom and I was like, I miss everyone so much. And she honestly really helped me calm down. And I think when you're away from people, you kind of notice how much you love them and how much you cherish them, and what kind of part they played in your life. Like, I lived with my parents, so I saw them every day. And I think now that I'm very far away and I can't just see them every day, it's still like, it's definitely made me think all of the things that they helped me with and all of the comfort I got from being able to have somebody that wouldn't leave me or whatever. Because with my parents, it's like I'm their child, and I have like a privilege that my parents love me and they love me unconditionally. They would never just dare to lose me. So that kind of comfort and protection and security was definitely something that I miss sometimes. And I also find that, thankfully in my situation, I'm not that far away. I'm around, I think, 3 hours away by train from my friends and family. So I wouldn't say it's impossible to get there. I can get there every weekend if I really wanted to, but it's still far enough for me to have to move plans and really plan to go there or take time out of my schedule, or it's not just something that I can just get on a train and go. I have to like think about it first, make sure that it coincides with my school and my homework and my work. And sometimes now that I have a job, it's a little bit more difficult because obviously jobs sometimes want you to work in the weekends, so you can't just like pop on over in the weekends when you have work to do. So it's definitely hard to find that balance at the moment. And I find that I'm experiencing, I think, what is separation anxiety from my boyfriend, because every time he leaves or every time I have to leave, it's like it takes a very big toll on me mentally, and it's really difficult to focus on anything else during the day. Like, the day that I leave is the worst. The night that I leave is the most horrendous experience. I can't focus on anything. Nothing can make me feel better. It's like this really horrible cage of just sadness and despair, and just like, I want to go home. I can't do this. He's gonna leave me because it's too hard. And then I think about it like, whoa. I'm obviously overreacting, because right now it's really difficult because exam season's coming up, but obviously after a couple weeks I have exams, but I also have a lot of free time during those exams that I can go home or work or do other stuff and like be able to catch up a little bit more and for longer periods of time with the people that I love. And I think sometimes I forget that for example, you go and see this person, and then you decide, hey, next week Tuesday might be a good idea to see each other again. So at least when you plan ahead of like, when should I see you next, it obviously helps a lot, but it's easy to forget, or it's easy to make this time feel really slow and long, and you sometimes are like, I don't want to leave though, I want you to stay. And that's been a struggle to go through. This also connects to FOMO, because when I see my friends hanging out with each other and I know that I can't hang out with them, it really creates a feeling of just, I'm nowhere. Who am I? Where's my identity? Because you honestly connect your identity to the people that you love so much that at one point when you leave, you have to create this other identity, or at least I think it's good that I'm away, because now I can finally focus on like, who am I without everybody else? Who am I for myself? And that's been interesting to see, but I'm getting better. Definitely, I feel better. I'm trying not to focus on what everybody else is doing. And right now, everybody is pretty much at school, so it's not like I can focus on anything else because we're all kind of busy. But it's still difficult when it's a Friday or a Saturday and I'm not there. And I see them going out to parties, and you just think like, wouldn't it have been so nice to continue my life with my friends? But that also doesn't mean that I don't have them anymore. They're always going to be my friends. It's just more difficult to keep up with them and keep up that friendship. I think the big problem is that I'm in between a phase where I have friends here. Like I have people that I like and that I spend time with, but it's not as deep of a connection as the friends that I have there. So it's really difficult to be able to, I'd say, kind of make myself feel better by hanging out with people here, because it's not the same connection. I've been here for a month. I need more time to be able to connect with someone and to be able to feel good with someone and really secure. So it does make me feel like in a weird limbo between, here and there, and I kind of don't know what to do and who to hang out with and stuff like that. And that makes me feel a little bit lonely sometimes, because you don't know what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to make yourself feel better. You just are kind of away from everything, kind of disconnected from everyone. But let's talk about things that have helped me, because I did find out some things that definitely helped me throughout this little journey of homesickness. The day that my boyfriend left last time, I was really feeling it, and I was like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do this? But I ended up going downstairs and talking to one of my roommates, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna pop into the shops. Do you want to join? And I was like, you know what? Why did that sound like so British? Pop into the shops? Nope, I'm not British. This connects to the last thing where I did a British accent, and I didn't edit it out just because, you know what? Let me just embarrass myself for once. I'm not perfect. Ugh, whatever. But whatever. He was going to the shops and he wanted to do some groceries. So I said like, hey, can I join you? Because I knew that if I didn't, I was going to rot in my room and cry. So I was like, I need to make myself get out there and think about something else. And honestly, that really helped. We had a great conversation on the bike on the way. And then we were both like looking at the aisles and kind of laughing about all the things in the aisles and figuring out what we wanted. and trying to like guess the prizes of things. Wow, it's so loud outside, but you're gonna have to deal with it. Um, and then, we had a really nice conversation outside, and just, it was really fun, and it honestly got my mind off of it so much, which I'm very happy about. I also, instead of going home after school, I go to the library with my uni friend, and I study with her, even though we don't talk because the library is really like no talking, super quiet. It's nice to have a change of scenery and to feel like you're doing this with somebody and to have some company. It definitely helps making you feel better, and making you super focused on your work, because now there's somebody else working with you, and that motivates you to do more work and to get things done because you've gone to the library. Like, this is where work gets done, because in your room you do so many different things that work is just one of them, but in the library, work is work. Like, that's what you're doing. You're not doing anything else. I'm not about to watch Gossip Girl in the library. Like, the library has a reason to be there. So it definitely motivates me a lot more, and it makes me feel less lonely, and like, I'm supported by someone, and I'm bonding a little bit because, we talk about our work and stuff. Ooh, this one's good. Calling my mom and venting. I think I talked about it earlier, but calling my mom is so therapeutic. I'm so grateful for the relationship I have with my mom, because I can call her and like cry to her, and she'll be like, "Oh, sweetie, it's okay. Like, you're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine." And it's super nice to have that person that you can just say whatever you want to, because, girl, this is my mother. Like, she's seen me through horrid times and through the best of times. This woman knows how low I can go. So definitely she understands and knows how to talk to me because of that previous experience. And she is kind of like my parents are my best friends in a lot of ways. And I'm able to tell them a lot more than I do with my friends. So it's definitely wonderful to be able to call her and talk to her, and for her to listen and care, because when she was young, she also went to boarding school, so she's also like gone through homesickness and missing her friends and missing her family. So it was definitely nice to hear her side of it, like, hey, this is normal, but in life these things just happen. And it was great advice, and it was nice for somebody to just support you while you're kind of not feeling too well. I signed up for student service therapy to cope with my feelings. I think not a lot of people talk about this, but it's honestly really important to understand that when you're feeling these feelings of anxiety or stress or depression or separation from other people, homesickness, talking to somebody that's a professional and that can actually help you cope and that is there to, hear you out is very important. And taking care of our mental health before it gets worse is also incredibly important, because I've been experiencing a lot of anxiety, and I was already planning on seeing somebody, but I think homesickness has kind of like made it a little bit worse than it should be, or than it was. And it's good to take that step towards bettering your mental health and trying to get that whole hurdle out of your way, because it does like get in the middle between your studies and your social life and everything like that when you're super anxious and sad from homesickness or separation anxiety and stuff like that. So it's definitely important to take matters into your own hands, take responsibility, and take that extra step to help yourself out, because sometimes only venting to your friends and family, sometimes it's too much for them to handle. They have their own problems, they have their own work to do. They can't sit there and listen to you for an hour. Whereas when you go to therapy, not only can this person help you in a better way, but they will also hear you, because that's what it's supposed to be. It's somebody listening to you. I think having a job now is really great. It helps me distract myself. Time goes by really fast with my job, because in catering, it's super go, go, go. Like, you have to make everything look nice, and then you have to cater for the people, and then you have to take everything down, and it's this whole process. It takes a very long time, and you have to collaborate with other people to try to make everything work, and it's a very long shift, but the time goes by like this, and you're not thinking about anything else. You're only thinking about your shift. So definitely spending time on my homework, but also on my job has been helping me a lot to get those feelings out, get my mind a little bit like calm and focus on what I came here for, which was my studies and a change of environment. And I think losing focus of that is easy, but it's good to remind yourself, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why am I making myself feel like this? Because I don't want to go back, because there's reasons I came here. But it's difficult to lose sight of those reasons sometimes. Watching TV shows and reading books, I have been obsessed with Gossip Girl. I love Gossip Girl. Oh my God, I think I'm almost on season 3. I know a lot of people have already watched Gossip Girl, blah, blah, yana, blah, blah, whatever. But Gossip Girl is so good. It helps me get so distracted. Reading books as well is amazing. Getting into a different world with different characters, kind of getting out of your zone and your life is so great. It's definitely something that is important to do, and it's also a hobby, and it's also a creative outlet. It's just all of these things at once, and it helps you shift your focus. And also, if you're reading books, I mean, obviously you're broadening your vocabulary, or you're learning how to talk clearly, and books really help with that. So not only are you doing something for entertainment, you're also doing it for a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of information, and that's, I mean, let's be honest here, that's amazing. I'm trying to enjoy my time alone because I'm realizing this is a step towards being more independent. How do I fill my time? I'm living alone now. I have to make my own schedule. How do I fill my time? How do I make sure that I'm okay? How do I make sure I survive this period of my life? Because this is the hardest part, is being homesick and getting used to being away from people. So now it's critical for me to be able to be independent, and this is helping me be more independent. So definitely taking care of myself despite feeling bad is one thing. Another thing is being able to fill my time up productively, but also giving myself breaks and giving myself the benefit of the doubt, like, hey, I'm struggling. It's okay for me to not do the most right now. I kind of got mad at myself for not filming this podcast episode earlier, but then I was like, well, I was having a time. I needed a break. That's fine. A couple days later, a couple of days earlier, I don't think many people care that much. So I had to kind of prioritize what I was actually supposed to do instead of what I thought I needed to do. Here's the thing. You have to realize that you're going to feel a lot of times in your life. You're never going to be at the same place always, like nonstop, 24/7, years on. Sometimes you move, whether it's for a job, whether it's for a study, whether it's for studying abroad, whether it's for literally anything. You might have to have time away from people and your home. And this, for me, is great practice for being able to deal with that and saying, like, okay, how do I balance this life and the people at home? And how do I make sure that I'm not neglecting one side or the other side? And how do I make sure that I'm doing what's right for me? Because if I only prioritize other people's feelings, like, oh, I haven't seen you in so long, that makes me so sad, but then I have too much work to be able to see them, I'm not about to ditch my work and go see them because they feel bad. Like, obviously, I want to see them, but it's important to make sure that you're not sacrificing your needs and wants just because you feel like you're going to lose friends because you aren't seeing them too much. It just happens. It's a normal part of life. Obviously, if you're not doing anything to see them, that's also a problem. Like, you have to have that balance. But don't sacrifice what you think you need to do or what you want to do just because somebody's trying to push you into seeing them all the time or something like that. I'm also grateful for these feelings of homesickness and sadness because it means that I love people. These are people that I love, and missing them is just a sign of my love and my devotion for them and the passion I have to stay with them. And it's a motivator to get to know them better, bond with them better, keep up with them, really put energy into the relationship. It opens up new ideas about, well, when you move, you see people as they really are. If they're not talking to you at all, I guess you weren't that big of a part of their life. And it's good to find that out sooner rather than later. But you also have to understand that they're also super busy. So it's a very confusing situation, just as long as you realize that people might leave because you're super far away. It's normal. It's okay. It happens. But that means you have to kind of find your friends here as well, so that you don't only rely on your relationships in other places. I'm going to close this window. Give me like 5 seconds. Okay, we're back. I'm sorry for that. Um, this, like, being grateful, speaking of being grateful, I'm grateful for my experience here because now I know what to expect. Now I know how I'm going to feel if I ever move again. And I think it will be better the next time because you see what happens and you know how to cope in better ways. So obviously you now know your coping mechanisms and what you have to do, which is definitely helpful in a lot of ways. And I think here's the thing. A lot of the times when I felt super, super anxious and sad about leaving my friends and family, I wanted to move and I wanted to go back, and I was searching up courses in next to my city that are closer, and I was deciding to move and all of these like drastic measures. But I think I don't want to just leave because I feel uncomfortable. And that's not to say you shouldn't leave if you can't get settled, because some people just can't get settled and it's not the town for them and it's fine. But I think I should at least give it a year because, then after a year, you might be way more settled than you were before. You obviously will know a lot more people and you'll have a honest routine in your life, and then you can make the decision, do I want to stay? Have I actually gotten roots here? Or is it just like before and then you go? But I think I can't just leave because I feel uncomfortable. And this connects to my other podcast episode about why I like being uncomfortable. This is a typical example. And I think that if I go against what I feel is right, like if I go against this just because I feel uncomfortable, well, then I'm kind of a hypocrite. So I don't want to just leave because I'm just like, oh, I miss mommy and daddy. This is obviously going to happen, and it's a very difficult transition. So instead of trying to like baby myself, I need to find other coping mechanisms that aren't just solving the problem like this, or like, because that's not really solving the problem. I mean, I like my study. Why would I leave? I like my town and I like my house and I like my roommates. There's no real reason that I want to leave except the fact that I'm homesick, which happens to everybody, and it's something that can be overcome with time. I mean, this is the first month. Things will settle down, as my mom said. Like, it's just been a month, and obviously right now it's a really weird limbo between me knowing some type of routine but also not being rooted in enough into the city to where I can actually feel at home completely. And I need to prioritize my life and my education instead of always making other people the priority, because of course it's great to prioritize the people that you love, but there's always a balance, and I want to prioritize my study as well as my friends and my loved ones at home. If people, and this goes on to say, if people or your significant other don't want to be like in a relationship with you, or don't want to keep up with you anymore, or want to give up on this because it's too difficult, I think that honestly, whether or not you would have stayed, something else would have come up. And right now it's them not wanting to make that much of an effort, or them feeling like it's too hard. If you were there, it would have probably been like, oh, I don't feel like this is working out, or some weird excuse. I think it really kind of tests people's patience and people's commitment. And I don't think you should villainize the person for not being able to keep up. That's normal. Some people just can't do long distance. Some people just can't do that, and that's normal. And we shouldn't villainize them, but we should also find out that like this was your decision. This is what you want to do. If the person can't live with that, then it was supposed to happen. And one day, like I said before, maybe for work you'll have to go abroad. What happens then? Then they break up with you? Like, at least now you know that if you ever come into that situation again, this person wouldn't have been there for you or wouldn't have stayed with you because it was just going to be too hard for them, or they're just not the type of person that can deal with a relationship like that. And that's okay. I don't think we should blame them. I don't think we should villainize them. But it's nice to know that they're just not for us. And it's important that we move on and we are like, well, it's not our fault because this is what we want to do with our lives. And if that is not compatible with the other person's life, it's better that you separate. And honestly, if you decide to come back, it's okay. Don't feel weak. Don't feel like a failure. I know that when I was thinking about moving back in those very small moments of me being very anxious, I felt really weak. And I was like, I'm such a failure. Like, I can't even do this right. I'm so weak. But you're not weak. This is just not for you. Like, if you tried your best and if you stayed here for a while and if you did everything you could, you tried to meet people, but it just didn't work out, like, that's out of your control and it's just not for you. Obviously, living that far away, or in this town especially, it's just not for you. And that doesn't mean anything. It's just what it is. It doesn't mean you're weaker than other people. It doesn't mean you're a failure compared to other people. It doesn't mean you can't handle it. It's not for you. You're not happy. And why would you push yourself to prove this weird kind of egoistic point instead of just living life as you want it and as is the best for you? Don't torture yourself trying to prove a point. You prioritize your happiness and your well-being, because if you're forcing yourself to live somewhere that you do not like and that you just can't get used to, that's gonna take your mental health way down low, and you're just not gonna have a lot of fun at all, and then there's no point to being there at all. Ask for help and talk to somebody that will listen. Don't talk to just anybody, because sometimes it feels even worse to open up when the other person's just not responding in the way that you want them to, or just not caring. But definitely talk to other people, because that will definitely make you feel less alone. And maybe other people, for example, if there's other people from abroad, they can also kind of relate to you and tell you that it's okay and that these feelings are normal. And if it's connected to a bigger issue, you can't ignore it. You definitely have to ask for professional help. For example, if it's connected to anxiety or depression, waiting will just make it worse. And that's gonna get in the way of a lot of things, especially when you wait and you get further into your studies and further into your life, and then boom, your mental illness like just explodes and you're going through this whole crisis. It's better to get mental health help earlier on when you're feeling these symptoms, so that it doesn't get worse, and so that you can, find the right coping mechanisms and get on with your life and become a stronger person. Find hobbies and people that you can spend your time with, and cry it out, babe. It's okay. It works. Just cry it out as much as you need to. Let it out. Let yourself feel whatever you need to feel. These feelings are completely normal. They happen to, me and mostly everyone that goes abroad. Let yourself feel whatever you need to feel, because that's what's most likely to get you better soon. If we just keep all the feelings inside, it'll take longer for them to go away. Well, you guys, I am tired. You can tell halfway through this that I was just like, and then now I'm just like, But I hope you enjoyed homesickness. I hope you never struggle with that. It's not great. But if you do, I'm here for you, babe. I know how you feel mostly. Obviously, everybody's experience is different. But get help and talk to somebody and try to fit things into your routine that don't make you sit in your room all day and rot. But I'm very happy you listened to my little rant today, my little podcast episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you're listening to this. And I'm going to see you next week with a brand new, scorching hot episode. I don't know what it's going to be yet. But you know what? Life is great. Just act like I do. Just act like I'm prepared for every week. Yes. All right. I'm gonna go. Bye bye.